Are you a dog behavior geek like me? Join me for my absolute favorite weekend of the year, the 2025 Dog Behavior Conference. If you've attended before, you know how special the DBC is. And if you've never joined us for this amazing 3-day online event, it's truly a one-of-a-kind gathering of like-minded dog geeks, pet pros, trainers, and animal advocates from all over the world. Registration is now open at dogbehaviorconference.com, and the virtual live conference takes place on April the 4th to the 6th. So, reserve your spot today at dogbehaviorconference.com. That's dogbehaviorconference.com. I'll see you there. My next guest, you know her if you live in the UK. If you're a VSA graduate, you know her too. If you're a VSBDT, you love this woman. And if you watch Channel 4's The Dog Academy, you also know her. She is Jo Pei, and she's joining me today to talk all things aggression. Jo, I'm so glad you're here.
I am so happy to be here. It feels like it's been too long.
I know it's been a long time. First of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm good. Nice and busy. The sun is shining. So yeah, I'm really well, thank you.
What, the sun is shining in the UK?
In Greater Manchester as well. This is...
What?
Yeah, I know.
That doesn't happen in Lancashire.
Not usually, does it? No,
It doesn't.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So all this, I feel a little bit like spring is coming, which is lovely.
I know, isn't it lovely? And we've also got something else to announce that's quite exciting, isn't it? That something else is coming in the spring. Ooh.
Coming soon to a screen near you.
The Dog Academy on Channel 4. Yes, we know the date, but we're not saying the date until the date's announced. But yeah, what can we expect in this new series, Jo?
So we've got, I think, a greater variety of behavioural problems that we all get to deal with. I think, and there are more dogs. There are just generally across the series, there are more dogs, which introduces us to many more families with lovely, lovely pets. And I think we have a really broad variety on breed this time as well. Quite a lot of difference. I feel like in series 1, didn't we have a lot of
Cockapoos?
Yeah, we had a lot of cockapoos, didn't we?
We did. No, really?
Do we even have one this time?
I think we did have one. Maybe? Did we? I don't know, because between It's Me or the Dog and the Dog Academy, I get confused. But what I do know is that some of the, because we do actually more cases than you see on television. Mm. So I do know that, all of us have had cases that won't make it to air for one reason or another, not because they weren't successful. It's because they have to have very different cases kind of being shown. So if you have a case that might be quite similar to another case, they're going to pick the one or the breed or the family that they want to show. So I know that there's one dog that I can talk about that is potentially not going to be showcased, but it's not because this wasn't successful. And this dog was a German Shepherd that I worked with, and she is just absolutely divine. And she was showing a lot of compulsive disorders.
I remember her.
Yeah, compulsive behavior, I should say. And it was really interesting to break that down and to get to the nitty gritty and find out why was this happening.
Yes.
And yes, I mean, I always, when I have something like that, I always will refer them afterwards to a vet behaviorist. I think that's really important, especially when you suspect a behavior that there's more going on than meets the eye. And also I referred them to an orthopedic vet because I also thought that was contributing to the behavior. And lo and behold, yes, it was. So
did she?
They called me about, because, after the show, you guys just see the show. After the show, we do Zoom calls with our clients because we want to make sure that things are going well. And even in some respects, we might go see them. So they called me, on the Zoom call, they were like, it's unbelievable. because her
Wow.
thing was spinning. She just spun,
Yeah,
spun,
she
spun,
did. It
spun.
was quite traumatic to
It
watch, wasn't
was
it?
really traumatic. And, but just putting a few simple things in place, getting them to understand why she was doing it. I mean, it was a massive change. And then when you put that medical component that I felt like she was experiencing some pain and discomfort in that rear end, in her hips as well, that was exacerbating the behavior, that really helped. And they were this. It was a mum and daughter, and they were just, I use the word divine because they were. They were the kind of people that you wanted to come over for lunch or dinner, and they were just fabulous. But they really worked hard,
Yeah.
and they
I think
loved this dog. Her name was Molly,
they
and
all
they
have,
loved her
haven't they?
so much.
Mm.
And, that's why I love doing this show, because obviously it's like It's Me or the Dog. It's more than just a show for us.
Oh, it
It's
is.
what we do. But we also had cases there where dogs are showing aggressive behavior. Now, in the first season, you had Marvin. Marvin was the Border Collie. For people
Yeah.
who didn't watch the show, can you tell me about him? Because that is related to what you're going to be speaking about at the Dog Behavior Conference, which is dog aggression, a practical approach to working with aggressive behavior.
Mm.
So can you tell us a little bit about Marvin for those who didn't see it?
Marvin was, for me, he was just a dream come true because he was this beautiful, beautiful border collie. But he did have aggression towards people. I think he was, if I remember rightly, he was a lockdown dog. His social experience had not been great. And as is not unusual for collies, he struggled with things like movement, sudden movement, sound, and wasn't necessarily as socially confident as other breeds are. Which had resulted in his owners also feeling very anxious and disconnected from the world because of the way they were having to safeguard their dog and themselves. So working with Marvin was a challenge because he did have a bite history, which a lot of these dogs do. It's lovely as a trainer if you can get to the dog before there is a bite history, because once a dog has learned that biting does achieve a goal, it's very difficult to unlearn that. So we had to be very careful because Marvin had bitten and knew that that was an option in his toolbox of behaviors to use when he felt threatened. But he was really smart, and when dealt with sensitively, what was really lovely was that the protocols that we use, like desensitization and counter conditioning, which I'll be talking about a lot, teaching new behaviors to use, teaching better escape behaviors. I'd rather you did this than that. He took to those really, really well. He was a fearful dog. He was not a dog who wanted to bite anybody, but he didn't really know what he should do instead. So we got a really good result with him, and in quite a short space of time, really. And he has gone on to improve since. I've spoken to Laura, his mum, since, not unusually, quite frequently, and he's improved massively and is continuing to go from strength to strength. So
See,
yeah.
that's so wonderful, because when Marvin came in, I mean, you just have to watch the show. When Marvin came in, this is a dog you didn't want to go next to. You didn't want to go close to. And he was a dog that had that eye that they give you, and it's quite silent. And
Oh, he was very silent.
oh yeah, don't go closer, because you will get bitten. He was basically saying that is a certainty. If you come closer to me, I will bite you. And
He was.
fortunately, you listened. But what I thought was so beautiful is that he came in on a muzzle,
He did.
and that's responsible of the people that bought him, right? That
Yeah.
is, people are like,
100%.
why should you muzzle your dog? I see muzzles as advocating for your dog, keeping your dog safe, keeping your dog alive,
I
right?
absolutely agree. Yeah.
Especially in public. But there is a point where you are in the training room, just you and Marvin. And I know Sean was there as well, because he was the partner at the time, but that you and Marvin are in that room and you're working with Marvin. He's still got the muzzle on, but there is a time then where you're beginning to get his trust. And you start to see it. He starts to follow you. He starts to become a little bit looser and a bit more comfortable. And then there's that time where you take his muzzle off. And then you guys start playing.
Oh, I tell you, it gives me goosebumps. Even watching it back, even though I knew what happened, I was still on the edge of my seat, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? But it was lovely. It was, my heart rate was, he must have been able to hear it. My heart was pounding in my chest because I felt so conflicted. I so wanted to help him, and I could see that he was interested in toys, and I could see that he was trying. But at the same time, as a trainer, if I push him too far, then I'm going to make this problem worse. And God, dear, the stress
of it. I'm stressed when I'm watching it, but I'm also, every single time I see that scene, I cry because it's like this dog that's so stuck in just this and so much stress and despair suddenly just lets it all go, and you guys start playing.
Oh.
And then there's such joy. It's like this release. That's why the Dog Academy is so beautiful, because guys, we don't know what is going to happen.
No.
And we have to deal with pretty extreme behavior very quickly in a very short space of time. And we do it humanely.
Oh, yeah.
There's no behind the scenes doing anything else. This is not set up.
No, and the thing that I love as well is that the whole crew, the production team, everybody's on board with that. There is never a question of whether could we just never, just isn't. So it just, the thing that I absolutely love about it is that the whole team gets it. The whole team is on board, and everyone is singing from the same hymn sheet. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and that is so important because of the extreme cases that we're dealing with. And so some of the things might, I know definitely in this next season, some of the things that you might see us trainers do, which always has the welfare and well-being of dogs in mind, as well as their guardians. But the things that you see us do might not be what you see on other television shows. There might be a little bit of that, but a lot of other stuff that we do, you might not have seen it before, and you might go, why are they doing that? And that brings to mind the obviously Molly, the German Shepherd, who you won't see, which really, because I really want everyone to see Molly, but she was such a beauty. But my other crew, the 5 Chihuahuas, that anytime anybody comes to the door, comes through, they bark like crazy, and that the poor couple and his son cannot eat without these dogs on the sofa, because that's where they like to eat, and they cannot eat without these dogs stealing food from their plate. I mean, they're so fast, and there's 5 of them. How are you going to, in literally like 3 hours, how are you going, less than that, how are you going to, and I'm going to say the word stop because we're so focused on stopping behavior, but that's the reframe that we're doing, is we're not looking at how stopping the behavior. We are looking at how to understand the dog's experience and how can we cleverly create a different feeling inside the dog so that they don't need to do the behavior. And also come up with some ideas where dogs can learn really fast. So I have 5 Chihuahuas that I have to, number 1, stop barking when anybody knocks on the door, comes through the door, right? And number 2, stop stealing food when people are eating it.
And they were quick. They were very good at that.
They were so quick. Oh, and there's also some infighting between them.
Mm-hmm. Just because,
and
why
just
not?
Sprinkle that on the top. So look, the Dog Academy is a very, I think it's a very special show. And I really encourage everybody this spring to watch it. And we actually work pretty separately when we're on the show, don't we? Because you work pretty separately on yours, I work on mine, and then it's going to be Sean and Kamal together. They work together like The two brothers they are. Which,
I mean, we all, thankfully, we're a good team, so we all
yes.
collaborate with each other
Yeah,
and
no, we
kind
do.
of
We talk about
do
each
our
other's.
training plans. But on the day
Yes.
itself, we're all kind of staggered through the day, aren't we?
Yeah.
Some of us start extraordinarily early. I think you did a lot of earlies, didn't you?
I did. I actually prefer earlies rather than going
Yeah.
late. I get to my like 3 o'clock cutoff time, 3, 4, and then I'm done. I'm like my brain goes just like molasses, and then I'm done. But I'll start at 6:37 in the morning. I'm good with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Get me up there
Less good
as the
with that.
sun's rising. Go in there. I'm like my brain is just let's do it. Let's rock. But then of course we're fighting the weather.
And the light.
And the weather and the light and the oh my gosh, and it's either too hot or it's raining.
Yeah. Yeah, and we had both. We had both, didn't we?
We had it all, plus the mud and the slush and everything. Anyway,
Oh my God, yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
fabulous show. It's a fabulous show. But in it, so you have worked a lot with dogs that are displaying aggressive behavior.
Mm.
And that's what you're going to talk about the upcoming dog behavior conference, which, guys, don't forget, is April the 4th to the 6th. I keep on saying the 7th, but it's not. It's April the 4th to the 6th. And it is fully online. So please join us. You were talking about actually, and I'll read what you've written in your synopsis. Dog trainers who work with aggressive behavior are seeing an increasing number of aggression cases as dogs struggle to cope in our human world. Why is that? Why? And I agree with you. We are seeing more cases. I know why, but can you let our audience know why?
Well, I mean, this is opinion, but I think the thing that I am seeing is poor research into breed type, which is not setting families up to be successful with the breed of dog that they have. I think the volume of dogs, the number of people that are trying to share spaces. I think a big one for me, I think, is genetics. I think that dogs are being bred more for their appearance or for, I mean, I love all of them and I love all of the breeds, but I think a lot of the breed mixes are not easy to look after. They're not easy to understand. They are not predictable in their behavior. If you look at something like a Border Collie, you know what I'm like. I'm always going to go to Border Collie.
Yes.
But if we look at Border Collie, we have hundreds and hundreds of years of predictable genetic behavior. So if you go out and get a Border Collie, or you go out and get a Dachshund, or you go out and get a Border Terrier, you can predict the behavior that you are going to see from that dog based on hundreds and hundreds of years of genetics. But I think a lot of families are getting fashionable breed mixtures. They don't understand what they're getting. I think the breed mixtures are still new, so we can't predict as trainers the behaviors that are going to be exhibited by those dogs. How much cocker versus how much poo, don't know. So I think a mixture of genetics. I think there is unethical breeding going on. I think that this is going to be really controversial, but people are breeding from dogs that are aggressive.
It's not controversial. It's fact.
Here's what's controversial.
Oh,
okay.
Sorry,
Years ago,
I preempted that.
It's probably good that you did. Just give me a chance to decide, shall I say it or not? But I'm going to
say it.
Years and years ago, I can remember meeting a farmer. I was out on a walk with my grandma, and then we met a farmer and we were talking about dog training. And his answer was, well, you don't breed from dogs like that. It's a brick in a bag in a ditch. You don't breed from that. You don't have that near your family, which is shocking to hear. But back then, when you had latchkey dogs, white dog poop on the pavements, because God knows what the dogs were eating and who knows where they were all day, and they were all mating with each other, and they were wandering around the streets with the children doing their job. People weren't being killed by their dogs then, were they? So it's uncomfortable to say, I think.
It is uncomfortable. It is, but
I think people are breeding from aggressive dogs. I think there is aggression in in genetics, and if you choose to breed for appearance and you disregard behavior, then the behavior continues.
It's a really sad fact that we have to say that. And there'll be people on here that are like, well, can breeders do a better job, please? And there's a lot of breeders out there that are doing an amazing job. They're doing an amazing job. And there are a lot of them who are not. And then you've got, don't even get me started on all the puppy mills, and then all of the even though puppy farming, you know, the third party sales of puppies, kittens, and rabbits have been banned, still seems that puppies are coming in from other areas, other countries, and that we're inundated with compromised animals, really. That have,
and I think with poor breeding comes poor health. With poor health comes pain. With pain comes aggression.
Yeah. So there's a lot of reasons. I also think something Sue Sternberg said, and I agree with her, the more that we are living in built up urban areas, and the more cars there are, the more noise that there is, the busier it is. When you have this beautiful predator that needs space, needs to roam, needs to smell, needs to procreate, needs to fulfill those doggy needs that they have, that nature, even though we've domesticated them, nature still tells them they need to do.
Yeah.
And now we have them confined in our homes. We have them confined in our gardens. We have them confined when outside on a lead.
Yeah.
And as uncomfortable as it is for us to understand that, to talk about it, to appreciate it is what we need to do, so that we can say, got it. I'm not going to let you run around and roam around. You will get picked up. You'll get run over. Can't do that.
Yeah. No.
I understand that you are this animal that still has needs, and that you're being confined in an environment, however lovely it is, how lovely your beds are, and the food that I give you is, and the love that I give you is, that is not really allowing you to do what you really want to do intrinsically, naturally. Makes you feel good. And so that I must work hard in order to find out what that is, what really moves you, not what I give you, but what really moves you, and try and find ways to give you that, which I know you've done with your dogs, your previous dogs, and which I try and do with mine. But I think if more people did that and understood it and took away the focus, I mean, you know, you're a trainer's trainer. You teach dogs to do amazing things. And I am very much into teaching dog skills. But I really think you have to understand the dog's experience first before you even start down the path of teaching them things or adding stuff into their lives that might be overwhelming for them.
I absolutely agree. And I listened to the podcast that you did with Sue Sternberg, and I loved it. And I agree wholeheartedly with everything that she had to say. It was, I think I was listening to it in the garden, cleaning out my chickens, and I was nodding, talking to my chickens. You're listening to this. So I agree with her. And I think also when we look at the dogs that we have, these dogs have all been bred, you know, we domesticated them and bred them individually with a purpose, with a job in mind. And I think so many dogs no longer do the job that they were bred to do, which they don't know, but there must be so much frustration in how small their world is. And I think that, again, this comes back to understanding the breed. It's doing your research. You know, I think that how much research people do before they buy a vehicle versus a coffee machine versus a dog. And when you choose a breed, I really believe that you should research that breed and make sure that you're buying, because if you're buying, you're getting it from a breeder, you're buying from a breeder, that you understand the needs of that breed, that you are prepared to put into place activities that will give that dog what it needs, and also understand whether, however much you love that particular breed, is it suitable to live in the area that you live in? You know, if you live right in the middle of a busy city, is it appropriate to put a working Cocker Spaniel or a Border Collie in that environment? Or, a sensitive little Vizsla, something like that? Is that right? Is that the right thing to do? And there are lots of breeders out there doing good work, and there are so many trainers offering a great service of, before you get your dog, talk to me. Let's talk about what your lifestyle is. Let's talk about what time you have. Let's talk about the money that you have. Let's talk about your expectations of what you want from a dog and what you can offer. And it's so easy to plan. This is what I find a bit frustrating, because as you know, I've lost both of my dogs in the past 12 months. And now that the shock of that is easing a little bit, I'm planning for the future, and I'm planning my puppy, and I'm doing breed research, and I found a breeder that I think looks fantastic. And I have looked at so many of her progeny, I think that's the right word.
Mm-hmm.
And I see them in lots of busy places. And I've looked at the health of these particular breeders' dogs. But I also know my environment. So, for example, those people who know me quite well know that I have hens in my back garden. I brought the hens in when my other dogs were adult. So I'm already planning. I don't think this puppy will be here till the autumn or the very end of the summer. Next 2 weeks, I'm having fencing put in my garden to separate the hens from the rest of the gardens, to help my puppy get used to living in this environment, to help my hens get used to the dog that's going to move in here that they are unfamiliar with. So it's not difficult to do, to research. Information has never been more readily available than it is now. There is no excuse. There are so many people like yourself, like me, who want to share information. Good breeders are shouting from the rooftops about what good stuff they're doing. So there's no excuse. And I think that is, that's what's frustrating.
Yeah, it is. As other people have said, you go to a shelter. I think Tom Candy said this, or maybe was it, no, I think it was somebody else. Anyway, I know he would agree. Tom Candy, who does a lot of amazing work for rescue, that people go to a shelter even, and they adopt. Oh no, it was Sue Ketland saying they adopt with their heart.
Yes.
And that's why at Wood Green they really put a big emphasis on matching. Of course, Wood Green, that the UK knows that is the focus, and where the doghouse is located. That fabulous show on Channel 4, The Doghouse. But she says that it's really difficult for people not to go, oh, I want that one because of the way they look. It's the reason why Wood Green doesn't have people go through their adoption kennels, that they do the
brilliant.
matching
I never knew
computer, that. And bring the dog out.
And in this,
I think it's brilliant.
It's a tangent conversation, but in this day of social media, where Instagram and those kinds of things are so important, I wonder how much appearance and then social media following affects the dogs that people choose. I don't know.
I would have thought quite a lot. I mean, it used to be movies. It used to be, and it still is, 101 Dalmatians, and everybody goes and gets a Dalmatian. It started in the 1930s, 40s. Well, actually, I should say, between late 1930s into, no, I lie, 1940s into the 1960s, where with Rin Tin Tin, which is a German Shepherd.
Yeah.
And everybody wants a German Shepherd because Rin Tin Tin is an amazing, does so many incredible things and saves the day just in the nick of time. And then everybody wants a German Shepherd. And then with 101 Dalmatians, everybody wants a Dalmatian. And then fast forward to movies today, everybody wants a Malinois. My gosh. And then you're going, oh, and then and the shelters see it because guess what happens? Oh, this Mally's a little bit much. It looked great on the show, but a little bit much for me. So now we're going to have to leave it at the shelter.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah,
and so we are so suggestible. We really go, this is what I love the look of this. And it's another reason why, that the golden retrievers have a beautiful black eyeliner around their eyes, which really brings their eyes out. And it's one of the reasons why they're such a popular breed, is just because of you look into that face and you
Oh.
immediately go to the eyes, because that's sort of what it's designed to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you go into those eyes and they just look at you and then you melt. How can you not melt?
You do.
I'm the
You do.
same. I melt as well. And then my head has to take over and go, okay.
I've done that though, haven't I? I've taken on a dog with my heart, and he filled my whole heart, but it was not easy.
Yeah.
And a lot of people would have given up.
A lot of people would have given up, but you didn't. And what an amazing learning lesson that was.
Oh,
and
yeah.
what an incredible life. Sorry. And I wasn't going to go on, but what an incredible life you gave this dog, who I think you're right. I think other people would have given up because he was definitely tricky. But oh my gosh, when he loved, and I just remember when coming over to your house to watch an episode of the Dog Academy, and it was like, Twist accepted me because he came and sat in front of me. He showed me his back and was just like, all right, pet me now, please. I was like, hi, good, I've been accepted.
You're in the family.
I'm in the family. If Twist says that, I'm good. But so we're going to take a quick break. After the break, I'd like you to talk about this issue that we have with aggression and aggressive behavior and what trainers can do, to keep themselves safe. But if they take on an aggression case, what are some of the things, some tips that you can give them that they need to know, knowing that every case is different, that will help them through? We'll come back after this message.
Have you been trying to find the right time to level up your professional dog trainer skills, knowledge, and certification? We built the Victoria Stilwell Academy's professional dog trainer course for people like you, and we've purposely designed it so that you can start whenever is most convenient for you. Or are you looking for how to begin as a professional dog trainer and don't know where to start? The Dog Trainer course guides you through the learning process from A to Z, delivering a powerful yet flexible experience, resulting in VSA's prestigious Certified Dog Trainer certification. Or maybe you're already a trainer, but feel there are a few holes in your skills and knowledge. VSA's flagship course contains all of the knowledge and skill-based assessments via your own dedicated faculty advisor to mentor you through the course and help build your confidence to be an elite dog training professional. Or perhaps you already run a pet business as a dog walker, a sitter, daycare, groomer, or your veterinary staff, and you want to be able to provide the clients who already trust you with certified training and behavior services as well. No matter where you are on your journey, the Victoria Stilwell Academy's Dog Trainer course is here to help you chase your dreams as a professional dog trainer. Our friendly, accessible team is available today to talk with you and help you determine whether VSA is the right fit for you. Or you can enroll in a completely free starter course right now to test drive the VSA Student Learning Center for yourself. Just visit vsdta.com to get in touch, enroll in a free course, or apply now. That's vsdta.com. Again, go to vsdta.com to learn more now. I can't wait to see you in class.
I'm back with Jo Pei, and we are talking all things dog, which I love because she's such an amazing guest. You always have been. I love talking to you, Jo. And in fact, when you were last on the podcast, you talked a lot about the journey you had with Twist. It was the most commented podcast I think we've ever had. And not only but people...
that.
Well, it was. And people were very moved by your story, but there was also a lot of people who could relate to it. And I think you gave a lot of people hope. We always have high expectations for the dog that we want. That's this ideal. And then when our dogs don't meet those expectations, it can be a real letdown. But then you go on a different journey. Not the journey you thought you'd go on. You go on a different journey. And I did it with my lab, Sadie, who I adopted when she was 5 years old. She was so good with people, so fabulous with children. Take her outside. I remember that first day I walked her outside And it was like, she was like Cujo at the other end of the leash towards other dogs. I was like,
Unbelievable.
well, that goes my therapy dog work right there. And then it took me a while. I was really disappointed. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've saddled myself now with this dog that I won't be able to do anything with. And then I was like, silly Victoria, be quiet, reframe, look at the amazing dog you've got here. And wow, she was with us for 11 years. She died when she was 16. She was my absolute, she's our heart dog, is our big brown dog. And she raised my daughter. I mean, she was there. She was mum number 2 for my daughter. So, you know, this dog, the dog that you think you might have, you get another one. And it actually might be better for you.
Who was it? Who somebody very wise once said, you get the dog that you need at the time.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, you do. So, okay, let's talk about how can trainers and people in general, really, because we have a lot of non-trainers listening to this, but how can they keep themselves safe if they have taken on a case of aggression?
Ooh, how can you keep yourself safe? You know, that's quite a hard question. So I think as far as keeping yourself safe, if you have a dog that has aggressive tendencies, I think in order to keep yourself safe, my number one go-to would be you need to learn really, really quickly to read your dog's body language really quickly. Dogs don't, so many people will see aggressive behavior as lunging, barking, growling, biting, snapping. And people will say, I didn't see that coming. They gave me no warning. And what I have found is that that's very rarely true. It's very rarely true. So I think the first thing to say is that the science with regards to dog aggression and the learning that I believe trainers, especially who are working with people with aggressive dogs, need to do is crucial. It's absolutely crucial. But that's not what I'm talking about. I've done a lot of that learning. So what I would say to people is the science is important. But as a trainer, what I want to do with this presentation is to give you my practical hands-on stuff. So I've taken all of that science, and over the years I've honed it into a recipe that has varying ingredients, but a recipe that I use with aggressive dogs. And rarely is the behavior out of the blue. So if we're looking at keeping people safe around their dogs, number one is recognize the body language, understand the body language. Dogs communicate a huge amount, but we don't see it or hear it until they are screaming it from the rooftops. And we could have seen it much, much before. So understand your dog's body language is crucial. For me, the second thing with regards to safety is management. So many problems can be reduced in intensity and in size significantly just by changing and managing your environment better. Maybe by managing space, by reducing sound, by reducing the amount of visual input that the dog is getting. And I think just by spotting discomfort in dogs, behavioral or physical discomfort in dogs, spotting that, recognizing it, and putting management into place to take pressure off the dog and from yourself, because being with an aggressive dog, living with an aggressive dog, and owning that dog is exhausting. It is so tiring and it's so stressful and sad and disappointing. And I just think that if you can spot it better, learn how to see it, and manage your environment better, everyone will feel relief. And then training becomes more achievable. And you see the beginnings of change. In body language and management, you see the beginnings. And I think those little seeds that you start to see are motivating. They're really motivating. So you think, oh, hang on a minute. Look, today my dog didn't growl at me. Today, my dog didn't lunge at another dog. Today, my dog didn't bark at someone going past the window. Today, I relaxed and I sat with my dog and I relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just management and observation for number one is game changing.
Yes, you are so right. It just takes pressure off, doesn't it? And it takes pressure off. And people like, yeah, but I need to train my dog. I need to, yeah, well, that comes. But to begin with, let's just take some pressure off, provide relief for everyone, keep everyone not just being safe, but feeling safer,
Yes.
and use management. It's your friend. And it helps, and it puts you along the path. I mean, at the Dog Academy, when we're working with dogs, we are very much into management. How can we make the dogs and the person's life as easy as possible when they're living together? And that goes across the board with everything. And then once you see glimmers of hope and wow, my dog didn't growl at me, or my dog didn't growl at my guest. Or actually, I feel okay letting my guest in because my dog's happy behind a baby gate with an enrichment toy, or my dog's in the garden, and they've got their stuff to do. And now I can focus on my guest, or that's great. That in itself is training. It's positive training because it's so much part. And that's what I call them quick fixes. Those are our quick fixes.
Yeah.
And they
management.
truly are. So
100%.
And when you've got that in place, then you can begin to work on that more emotional side that needs time. That's why I really don't like other shows or other trainers that celebrate quick wins by using corrections and punishment. Yeah. That I think is just devastating and tragic, because that's not taking the dog's emotional experience into account at all. It's suppressing it. It's
and at what
punishing
cost?
it. Yeah, exactly. At what cost? What damage is it going to do to that human-dog relationship? What damage is it going to do to that dog? And down the line, how's that dog going to feel?
That's my concern, because if you're going to go in and you're going to use harsh training methods, as a trainer training a family, you say to them, oh, yank this, push that, spray this, rattle that. But then you go home. You go home and you go to bed and you go about your day, and they are left with the fallout of what you threw with them, and you went away. And people don't know what they don't know. So when they're left with that, they think they're doing the right thing. And, I yesterday, I'm going on we do this, don't we? I'm going on a tangent again.
Yeah, that's all right. We're allowed to. We're at that age. We're allowed to. Here. I'm going to have my drink of water. Carry on.
So I had a lady come yesterday to see me with a little working cocker spaniel for loose lead walking. And she'd been sent to me by my vet because she went for a checkup and the dog was wearing a prong collar. And my vet, love her, she was like, oh, hang on a minute. This is not good. You need to get this off. And the conversation was, come see me. And we had a lovely chat yesterday. And once she understood the difference between how I train and how a prong collar works, and once she understood why the prong collar had initially worked and wasn't so much anymore working, and also once she understood that she had a choice in how she trained her dog, and little things like what she said to me, I feel like he has to have a really big walk every day. How can I do this when he has to have a big walk every day? And I was like, wait, who told you that? I have Border Collies. I don't walk my dog every day. We do loads of other stuff, but no. And they don't know. They don't know. And so pet owners are so vulnerable. So much damage can be done, but they don't know any better, because the information out there is so much information. The thing with the internet is there's so much there that's great, but no one takes away the bad stuff, do they?
Or the bad stuff, when you see it, especially with dog training, is made to look like it's really wonderful stuff.
Oh,
and it's
very sexy and glamorous.
Awe-inspiring. It's awe-inspiring. It's amazing. Golly, look what happened in the dog. I'm going to teach you just with a good old yank and hanging the dog, swinging it around a bit, poking it and shocking it, how I can stop this dog from being really, really aggressive. And people are on there like, wow, that's amazing. That's incredible. And you just go, my God, is this really what we come to?
But also
If people
they
just
can't do it.
blown away by that, are they taken in by it? They are.
Yes.
It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy for dogs, but you're right. And I love what you say, Joe. And I love the way you put it. Yeah. You go home. The trainer goes home after they've done all that to your dog. And now you've got to do it.
But people can't. They can't do it. They physically can't.
No, they can't. And also, if you look at Steve White's, is it 8 rules of punishment? Some people say 9. It's like, I think it's 8 rules. You got to be, if you're going to do corrections, you better have every one of those rules ticked off beautifully. Absolutely beautifully. And his point is that you can't.
No.
And in order for correction to be effective, and you can't. So you know what? There is another way. Okay, so there's that safety aspect. When a trainer goes into a house, though, because I know there's online and a lot of aggression experts are actually doing stuff online first. Mm-hmm. But when a trainer goes into a house where they know this is a dog that has had a bite history, what are some of the things that they should do before they go?
Okay, so for me, I don't always insist on a muzzle because I think muzzles are really important, but they're really important to train properly because if this is a dog with a bite history, I want the dog to love wearing its muzzle. So muzzle if the dog is happy wearing one, but for me, I want the dog in another room. I would like the dog at least behind a baby gate. I have in the past said on lead, but I've been bitten by an aggressive dog in a house that was on a lead.
Here, me too.
So, it pulled the lead out of the lady's hands. It was quite determined to get to me. So for me, first steps are never, ever go into someone's home without having a really good assessment questionnaire completed and filled in, and ask the same questions in different ways a few times through that form to make sure you know whether the dog has a bite history, make sure you know the situations in which the dog bites, if it does, or if maybe it hasn't yet, but make sure you're fully informed. Make sure a vet check has been done. If you can, have a conversation with the vet because the vet's been there and seen it. So have a conversation with the vet. But then for me going into a home, ideally, I want the dog in another room, behind a closed door to begin with, behind a baby gate. But I've been in a house once where this was a big dog. It was a dog de Bordeaux. It had seen the vet, and the vet was quite concerned about it, about its anxiety levels. And it was behind a baby gate. And when I looked at the baby gate, it was only fixed to the wall on one side. There was a gap in the side.
Ooh.
And when your tummy goes funny, like it just drops out from under you.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God. And then I could hear this growling. Like, I don't want to hear that. Now, thankfully, the lady went into the room with the dog, and she was feeding him food, and she said he won't eat the food. I said, okay. Do you have a door from your kitchen to your garden? She said, yes. I was like, thank God. Open the door, tell him to go out for a wee. She's like, what? I said, no, just open your door, tell him to go for a wee. And she went, oh, okay. And he did, because everyone's dogs know that, don't they? Yeah. Everyone's dogs know. You open the door, you go for a wee. Yeah. And he went out the house, and I was like, okay, good. Right. We can't be here with this baby gate that is not fitted at this side. So, yeah, baby gates are great, but...
I think that's why a lot of trainers that work with aggression cases begin the process online first. And I think that is actually really smart, because if you've got a dog that especially is really sensitive around people, to have somebody new just coming into the house can be really difficult for them. Yeah. So in some cases, to be able to get your initial sessions, maybe 1, 2, or even 3 sessions done first online. So, and then maybe take it out when you're first around the dog. Maybe you're out in more of an open area, but you'll have a better idea of how to manage the situation so you feel confident, the dog feels confident and better with your presence, with a stranger coming into their house. And then that starts to build up the trust. And there are some dogs that, I mean, oh gosh, I've worked with so many aggression cases that it takes me time, but I will eventually be able to, the dog will trust me enough, like Marvin did, for me to be able to handle it. And then we can start working together. But it's, I'm not going to just go in and think that I'm God's gift to all dogs. So this dog's going to love me, because all dogs do, which I hate it when people say that, because no, they don't. But I'm going to respect the dog's space, and I'm going to, if I think it appropriate, then I'm going to be able to handle the dog. But there are some cases where I'm like, the dog doesn't feel comfortable. And so you could also teach the handler, the guardian, to work with their dog. You don't have to put your hands on the dog.
I think that was something that we learned a lot through COVID. I don't know if it was the same in the US, but in the UK, once COVID restrictions were dropped some, we could have dog training classes and we could meet clients again. But there was a lot of information where we weren't allowed to touch dogs. Don't touch the dog. It could be carrying COVID on its coat. Don't touch the lead. So a skill that was learned through COVID was coaching your client.
Yes.
What kind of language are you going to use? And you should, as a dog trainer, I do believe you should be able to coach from a distance and be able to give your client information clearly and concisely so that they can recreate what you would normally create with your hands with your dog.
I think that's very important. And you're right. I became very good at air demonstration. And then during It's Me or the Dog, we had, when It's Me or the Dog came back filming in 21, it was just when in the summertime the COVID restrictions had been lifted so people could be out and about, but we still had the quarantine laws, and working with, because Warner Brothers owns the show, but the Warner Brothers were like, these are what you have to follow. So you cannot get within 6 feet of the person, even in their house. And all the crew, myself, and that's why it sort of looks vaguely weird how everybody is standing at such a distance from each other, that when it comes to handling the dog, I had to come in, put my leash on the dog. They had to take their leash off, stand back. So it was this kind of weird dance that we did. But actually, I became really good at demonstrating air demonstrations because of COVID, because of that. Yeah. And it worked, and people learned a lot. So I think that is definitely something that people have to learn and become confident with.
Yeah, coaching. And like you say, meeting outside is a good idea. Meeting with barriers between you, fencing between you. There's nowadays, with all the dog parks that are available in secure fields, meeting somewhere with fencing in between you is hugely valuable, because it takes the pressure off everybody.
We've all made mistakes, right? As growing learning trainers, we've all made mistakes. The most important thing is when you have an aggression case, is that you don't want to do anything to elicit a bite. And people out there that might wear their bites on their, like, as trophies almost. Look how many times I've been bitten. Ha ha ha. Isn't that funny? Actually, it's not. It's actually tragic, because the dog felt the need to bite you. And that is a failure.
I consider it so. For me, the dog, I've been bitten once. And for me, it was a failure for the dog, but it was a big failure for me. I did not gather information correctly. I just didn't.
It's a learning experience. I was working with a white German Shepherd, and it was going really well. This dog was very on edge, but it was going well, right? We got a good rapport and lived with a young boy, and the Shepherd loved the young boy, but get very, very riled up very easily. And then I did something stupid, which is what I hadn't done is asked, and normally I asked what this dog is like around its resources. So the dog and the family were in the sitting room. I went out into what they call, it was almost like a a conservatory area to kind of prep the conservatory area because we were going to do some work in there. And without thinking, I see the dog's bone as an actual bone, a meat bone on the ground. And I go to pick it up to clear it up, right? We don't need that. I'll put it in the toy basket, wherever it is. And before I knew it, and you can see it. I mean, we didn't keep it out because we thought it was a really good learning experience for people to see. So you can see that episode. The dog comes running to me and within a second jumped up on me. Literally, as it came running, I stood up from kneeling down to get the bone. I stood up. This German Shepherd, large, pounces on me, pushes me back against the wall. Didn't bite me, but was like, hey, you, lady, hands off the bone. On no uncertain terms did that dog shout at me. He did not bite me. But
I mean, what a dog.
I know. And that's why we keep it in the show, because we want people to see.
It's so easily done. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? If again, it comes back to observation and management.
Right.
Your
right.
foundation.
And I got comfortable around this dog because, here was a dog that was beginning to trust me. And I started to get I started to get comfortable. And we were doing some great work together. But that was his flashpoint where he had to tell me off. And you know what? Instead of me correcting him and instead of this battle ensuing, I apologized to him. I said, I'm so sorry that I just went for your bone without thinking. Even though you weren't in the room, you saw me and you came over, you told me off. I get it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I love that. I've apologized to dogs. you go suddenly to move past them or something and they kind of go, dude, I'm very sorry. I never thought. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you got little dogs as well and they're like under your feet and you're like, they seem to know that when you say sorry though, if you step on them or you do something or you like, and you say sorry, they seem to know and understand. Okay, all right.
They're very forgiving. That's your first strike, lady.
Silly human, but okay, thank you. I got it. Oh my gosh. All right. So if you could give, I'll put you on the spot here, but if you could give a couple of tips about if people have what do people really have to think about when they're working with an aggression case? And that's quite a generalized question, isn't it? Because it depends on what the dog is aggressing at. But what would you say are kind of your top tips?
Pain. Number one, pain every single time. Or not necessarily pain, but underlying something, conditions. Dogs that I work with that are aggressive recently have pain or obsessive compulsive behavior.
And
when you try and interrupt the obsessive compulsive behavior, they don't want to be interrupted because it feels so good.
It does. There's Molly, the German Shepherd again.
This was a German Shepherd too.
There you go.
So
who have a tendency, actually, some of them become, anyway.
Yeah,
but yes.
Yeah. So a pain. Pain is my number one. And then other things to think about is this is more human, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm going off on a tangent again, but I think setting realistic expectations for your human client. Yes. It's so hard. It's hard and it's emotional and it takes time. So I think taking the time for your human to allow them to express their grief and their frustration and their sadness and their fear of the dog that they have, and being really clear and open and honest about setting expectations realistically for them. Because when you start on a journey, you decide that, yes, I'm going to help my dog. Yes, I'm going to get a trainer with me. I think you need to know how long it's going to take and what the ish outcome is going to be. And we can never say, I can cure this. We can never say the outcome will be this. And sometimes the outcome is quite sad, very sad. But I think you owe it to your human client to be really open and honest and realistic with expectations.
And I'd also say that positive trainers work with aggression cases every single day, and they save lives every day. And please don't be drawn into the whole myth out there that it's only dominance trainers and punitive trainers that save lives.
No.
They save lives, I'm sure, in other ways, but I'd rather save a life without using suppression techniques so that life blossoms.
But I think I'm seeing a shift change. Sorry, I think I've got a really small head and big headset.
That's all right.
I think I'm seeing a change. So tomorrow, I'm hosting a seminar tomorrow.
Yes.
And what I love about this is coming together for this seminar. We have got dog trainers. I've got veterinary physiotherapists. I have got veterinarians. I've got vet nurses. I've got dog walkers. I've got groomers. I've got pet owners. And one of the things I wanted to do was to create a community where these people work together. And I think the shift change that I'm seeing is that across all of these professions, they are recognizing the power of positive reward-based training.
Fantastic.
And a huge amount of my business comes from word of mouth and from vet referral. The vets who know me, who know what I do. And I've been to the vets with a client this week. Her dog's had some seizures, and she was frightened of going to the vets by herself. She was a bit confused about going, very anxious because it's your dog and it's scary, isn't it? And when I went in, the vet that we saw was the husband of a client of mine. And I walked in and he's like, "Oh, hey, Joe." And it's another different vet. It's not the vet that I use for my dogs. And then there's another vet in the village that they're coming tomorrow. And so I'm seeing a real crossover now.
Good.
With everyone starting to come together and sing from the same hymn sheet. And I think for dog aggression, I think I'm seeing a shift change where people are understanding the underlying fear and the emotional side of aggression and are starting to look to change with more positive reward-based methods. And the community it feels to me like it's working better together.
That is such good news. It's such good news. It's trending that way. And that is fabulous. Even with the power of social media and everything on the ground, boots on the ground is trending that way. I wish that the South where I live, there's a lot of positive trainers here, but there's also a lot of shock collar trainers and people who shouldn't really be calling themselves trainers. And before actually I want to end, I would say to people, my advice is if you're looking for a trainer, obviously always look for VSPDT first. But if you're looking for a trainer, do make sure that they're a credentialed trainer and that they have their credentials from a good place like VSA and that they specialize in aggressive behavior, because unfortunately our VSA course is a long course, right? We recognize that it is a foundational course where we go into more advanced training and behavior, but we still encourage our students after they finish, if you want to specialize in aggression, then you need to go and get yourself more learning in it and how to handle different things. And that's, it's obviously, it's like an internship or an internal medicine person, a regular family doctor versus somebody that's going to become a brain surgeon or it's going to become and do gut surgery or something like that. So trainers are the same, where we can specialize in different things. And I would say be very wary in people who have taken maybe a couple of weeks course or a weekend, and now they call themselves as a trainer, because there's a lot of those people setting themselves up in business and now they're calling themselves trainers and actually they do not know what they're doing.
It's true. That is true.
So please be aware of that. It's happening everywhere. And because this is an unregulated profession, then you need to be careful. You need to be really careful. Joe, thank you so much for joining me. What an absolute pleasure. And I would tell everybody who's listening, go and come and listen to Joe Pay speak at the Dog Behavior Conference, April 4th to 6th, fully online, dogbehaviorconference.com. She'll be speaking on dog aggression, a practical approach to working with aggressive behavior. And also people will see you on their screens in the UK. Yay, yippee! In the spring
Coming
Wow.
soon.
We have 8 episodes of some really intense, well emotional, incredible stories. Amazing dogs and their families. Thank you, Joe, again for everything.
Thank you so much for having me. As always, it's been a pleasure. I'm sure we have waffled on about all kinds of things, but I love when we can get together to chat. So let's do it again soon.
Me too. All right, everybody, thank you so much for listening. And I hope if you're a trainer and you work with aggressive behavior in dogs, that you've learned a lot from this episode. Or if you are a guardian and you have a dog that is showing concerning behavior, then make sure that you get a certified professional positive dog trainer in to come and help you. All right, everyone, take care, and I'll see you again on another podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to Victoria Stilwell's Positively podcast. For Victoria's online dog training courses, more information, and helpful dog training tips, visit Victoria's official website at positively.com. Get connected on Facebook, Instagram, and other social media as Victoria Stilwell, and follow her on Twitter at Victoria S. Learn to become a professional dog trainer with the Victoria Stilwell Academy at vsdogtrainingacademy.com. And be sure to tune in next time as Victoria helps you and your dog live your best life together, positively.